Hello, everybody. Let's have another day of headlines. We need to add some context and commentary to the crazy things that are happening all over the world. So, right here at the top of Drudge today, we have this shock poll. Donald Trump opens up stunning 39-point lead over Ron DeSantis in the home state of Florida. So, the significance of this is that typically, if you have a governor or a senator, they're obviously going to be from a state. That's their home base. That's where they're the most popular. That's where they've created their reputation and their renown. So they ought to be able to win that state in the primary. That's their home base of support, where they're untouchable. So that DeSantis, who is the governor there in Florida and who's had all these kind of controversial laws to try to push through to lift his standing even nationally, anti-woke laws, for him to be so far behind, that does not bode well for his candidacy for president next year. Here we have a continuation of yesterday. Elon Musk stupidly seemingly to agreeing with an anti-Semitic tweet, like many dumb young people and college students in the West now. But we see that within what we might call the establishment business and political community, that are always and still are long-term supporters of Israel and against this sort of hatred, they are striking back against Twitter, which is now called X, by withdrawing their advertising. And we have Musk vowing to have a lawsuit against them. It's rich people playing games, and I don't know, the young people who suddenly oppose Israel in this war in the Middle East. You wonder where they're getting their information from. Here we have lawmakers racing for retirement. This is a syndrome that happens over and over again in politics, especially at a time of unsettled politics where maybe a lot of people from the various states, it's not as attractive to go to Washington when the politics is so politicized, so polarized, so angry, so unsettled. Perhaps a layman, we may think of politicians as people who just speak to the public and just tell it like it is. And if I were a politician, I'd just go and I'd just tell it like it is to the populace and get elected. But that's not really what being a politician is. That's only the election part, where you can just say all kinds of crazy things to your populace and rabble-rouse and get elected. The job is going to be compromise. So you're immediately going to go in and have to give up half of what you believe in to be able to work with other people who don't agree with you to get things passed. And then after you do that and you think you're a good boy for passing those bills, there'll be these media organizations that are right or the left, and they'll grade you to say, you said all these things, these were your principles, and you've already violated them by working with the opposition and passing these bills. And this is the political situation people are faced with now. Because many, I think, in the media and the public just wish these politicians to stand on these principles and never negotiate, never try to work with the other side in any way at all. That's, I guess, the very definition of the polarization of politics. Christian survivalists prep for war in Idaho. We always have something like this in the United States. I think at any time you would see articles about this. There are always people that go off into the wilder, more conservative, low-tax states in the West, and you get a little bit of land, and you make your own little fortress, get your guns there, and pray a lot and believe the world's coming to an end. Whether this is really a trend or one of these sort of alarmist human interest stories that the media boils up for us sometimes, that's anybody's guess. Why Western women are converting to Islam. This is interesting. It seems like, we're here in a situation where people are facing the events of the Middle East. It is interesting that triggers people to convert one way or another. But I think during times of stress that happens. I always thought that black folks that live in the United States, maybe in Britain, maybe in other European liberal democracies, they might feel attracted to different religions that are maybe a little bit far removed from the typical old-fashioned traditional religions of the countries they're in, because countries like the U.S. give black folks very little to very little for them to believe that their interests are being served sometimes in America. Very often black folks, I believe, feel like that they're made to feel that they're on the outside and that their tax dollars are not going for their own benefit. Maybe, breaking off and being part of another religion is would help soothe that, or maybe even be a protest against the status quo in those nations that they live in, that are their nations. Here we have some things we talked about yesterday. TikTok creating this whole cadre of young people who don't understand that why Israel is an ally of the West. And what else? We have, this was interesting, David Axelrod. This is a part of the backroom cigarette smoking guys who are trying to push Biden out of the elections next year. Axelrod is one of the big wheels that was part of the Obama administration that helped strategize to get Obama into the White House, keep him there. That's one big pillar of the Democratic Party establishment. And clearly here, Axelrod is floating this idea publicly, saying that, Biden's a good president, a great president, but he's too old. Maybe he should step aside, as a hero at one term, let a younger person vie for the presidency. And apparently within the Biden administration, there's some pushback or some grumbling against Axelrod floating these ideas out in the press. See, they come out in the press for us. Again, it's not just about one random guy from the Obama administration happening to put out an opinion. This is a key pillar of the Democratic Party that is voicing a view of the wider party bigwigs in the background who want Biden not to run next year. Here we have something, I don't know what kind of backlash, if it's really a Latino backlash, but it is a backlash because Univision has had some supposedly friendly interviews with Trump. I guess all interviews with Donald Trump have to be unfriendly. You see how, he's not really allowed to be interviewed in any sort of venue without it being unfriendly, I guess, according to the Washington Post, which is a left-leaning paper. And you could certainly argue with Trump's record of who he is and how he's conducted himself that maybe he needs to be treated not like other old, former presidents, but as a sort of an enemy. But here we have just a backlash. They don't want him to be interviewed in a friendly manner by any media establishment. I'm experimenting with some new camera angles here, so bear with me. Yes, here we have Schwarzenegger. He's suddenly everywhere. You know, he's got that book out now about his life or something like that. It's in the one of the top books on bestseller list now. And so there's speculation of what he's doing, what the point is, what he's circulating around here for. Excuse me. He can't run for president in the United States because you've got to be natural born citizen. I think it says you got to be born in the United States. He was born in Austria. That's too bad. I think somehow with everything that's happened, you know, he was a governor of California. I sort of like him, not just because he's an actor or a famous, cool person, but I think he'd be a great president. Excuse me, I would be, I'd be happy to see him as a candidate for president, but he can't. So they're saying maybe he could be a senator. Maybe he's getting ready for a senatorial run out of California. AI Jesus threatens damnations if viewers ignore TikTok commandments. I don't know. Okay. Yes, we live in a day and age where there is no damnation for anything. Anything goes, I guess. So people might be shocked if there's any limits put on anything. So maybe the AI Jesus's time has come. Here we have a SpaceX flight blew up. It's a tricky business going into space. Kanye releases first new song after remarks praising Hitler. I don't even want to click on that. What a nutty time we live in. Here's this thing, OpenAI, this sort of murky firing of the CEO, the godfather of the sudden AI revolution that's supposed to change everything. What does it mean? They didn't give a lot of details. Some of these articles talk about perhaps it has to do with the weird structure that these companies were created under. There could be a lot of funny business going on because all of these things were created as a foundation. Oh, it's a not-for-profit. Until the second they find out it can make profit, then the whole thing has to be changed. That's one of the theories, that there's some dissonance in how that was created or expressed to the public, their shareholders, the board, with some funny business going on. Who knows? Those are allegations. But the big fear is that, I'm just going to bring this up. It's called the Gartner tech curve. And this is the concept of how when a new tech idea appears in the media, suddenly it's overhyped, as this AI has. This, like, it's going to eliminate all jobs and change the world because it's perfect. And then after a while, the reality sets in, and the media articles fall off. But eventually, there is some element that is started to be implemented. And so you have a tech curve where it starts high with all this with this media hype, and then it falls into the pit as we see the hype. But eventually it comes out to a little plateau again, as there are aspects of it that are real and not media hype. We saw that with those self-driving cars. Maybe like up to 10 years ago, that was like, oh, all the cars are going to drive themselves. Well, no, the technology isn't there, despite all the articles that said it was. So that's the Gartner tech curve, I believe it's called. So there are fears that like every tech thing you end up reading about in the media, it could be that we have to find out what are the real implications of this AI stuff. Obviously, they're going to start to regulate it. And here, I'll come back big again. When they start to regulate it, since all this tech stuff is just the stuff they've stolen from the web, everybody puts their stuff online, and it just amalgamates all that stuff with no consent from anyone. I was part of a certain industry that a little over a year ago had some poll that said, would you put your voices for voice actors, would you put your would you license your voice acting to be aggregated for AI? And so people said yes, no, whatever. Well, now we know that there's no consent to any of this. All it does, the big tech companies have just scraped all the data off, put it together, and they've used it. Tough. There's no consent for you. And the issue will be, can all this AI creation that these big companies are going to do to get rid of employees, are they going to be able to copyright this stuff that's made from our content that we put online, from our voices that you can hear on YouTube? I hope not. Teen boys falling for nude photo scam. So here's the scam. So a girl sends you nude photos and asks for nude photos from you. Does that sound like a girl? Well, to young people today, that does. No girl would want nude photos of a gangly man. It just is incredible that this could happen. How twisted the young people are to not understand the dynamics of men and women and interaction. But that's where we are. Young people are dumb, but maybe it's our fault we've made them dumb. Wait, I think we saw this yesterday. Okay, this was the idea that people are fleeing certain states for other states, because in the United States we have liberal states, we have conservative states, we have high-tax states with lots of benefits, we have low-tax states with no benefits. So people are moved from one to another. So the dynamic we have now is people moving from the liberal high-tax states with lots of benefits to places where there are lower taxes. We have a little bit more here about Israel and Gaza. Oh, here's a study. It just happens to come here right for Christmas. So all of the people who are spenders will be happy when we overspend for Christmas, to know that science backs us up, that we're happy, that we're happier than those dummies who save, those cheapskates. And you see it's illustrated with happy people here overspending. Obviously this is a sort of story the media chooses because it helps people spend, and it's appropriate for Christmas time. You feel happy because you turn to their newspaper, to their website, and you read something that validates your own beliefs. Bezos's ex-wife has got the last laugh. She divorced him. She gets half of everything, all those billions. And I think she immediately got married and divorced again, I believe. I don't know. I don't know why you'd ever want to really get married or have a long-term relationship if you had a lot of money that was in the balance. That's why I like to be in a long-term relationship. I don't have nothing at stake at this point. There are a few things we talked about yesterday. Legal sex work, I don't know. Ron Jeremy, completely no interest in him. how Homo sapiens became the last human species left. This is one of the most fascinating things. This is the Homo florensis, the little hobbits down in Indonesia. Died not too many years ago, a long time ago, but in terms of all of history, not too long ago. What if there were still some of them down there? I've got that recent book that collected all the folklore of Indonesia, where up to recent times there have been many sightings, supposedly of little people way out in the jungle. Could be folklore, could be real, could be just our collective memories that have been passed down from when such things were really there. And of course, this article posits some things, but nobody really knows. This is a fascinating but murky recent past. So before we go, this is my book. It's a novel about life in a big city, in a big concrete city, with young people from different countries who've come to Bangkok, Thailand to work, and their dreams, their aspirations, their alcoholism, their failures, their successes, the businesses they try to run, all the things that sort of plague our lives that we try to overcome. That's my book. It's on Amazon and Kindle. I'd love it if you read a copy. Before we go, I've been putting out one of these. This is Art of War card set. We got a card a day to perhaps advise us on what we can do. Okay, this is a good one. We have Rise Up and Charge. Resolve a desperate situation with bold action. Boldness when engaged in a desperate situation carries with it the possibility of victory. And I would add to that, it always feels good to take action. Just take that action, make that decision, go down that road. So, okay, those are the headlines for today. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.